Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sydney Sherman, and I'm honored to be sharing my research on the experience of physical inactivity during inpatient bone marrow transplantation with you. Dr. Gerard Hildebrandt, the Chief of the Division of Hematology and Bone Marrow Transplantation, is the physician overseeing this research. Dr. Chi is my research mentor as well as the PI on this case. When reviewing this research, it is important to note that this presentation only encompasses the interview phase of the study. In order to aid in understanding as to why this research is so important, we must first understand what bone marrow transplantation actually is. The Mayo Clinic defines bone marrow transplantation as a procedure that infuses healthy, blood-forming stem cells into your body in order to replace the diseased or damaged bone marrow. This procedure is also known as a stem cell transplant and is most common amongst hematology-oncology patients. These were our primary study subjects. It is no secret that patients who receive BMT transplants often suffer from both physical and emotional distress. This in turn can lead to a severe decline in physical activity, causing long periods of immobility. This prolonged period of inactivity has been shown to increase the rate of major complications amongst BMT patients. Some of these complications may include worsened symptoms, a further decline in physical functioning, or an increased chance for pulmonary problems such as pneumonia or infection. It has been found that movement, namely aerobic exercises as simple as walking, can help improve the patient's quality of life, their mental health, treatment-related side effects, and physical performance. However, even the slightest amount of exercise isn't included in the standard of care for BMT patients due to insufficient resources. In order to combat this issue, we found it imperative to find an efficient and effective way to encourage and monitor BMT patients' physical activities and other patient-reported outcomes. Using advanced wearable technology, the overall goal of this study is to develop an Apple Watch-based system that can be used as an innovative and minimally invasive approach to support healthy and safe physical activity during hospitalization of BMT patients. In order for this to be successful, one must understand the ways in which we can improve BMT patients' experiences of physical inactivity. This presentation displays the results and interpretations of those experiences. Using 7 sections of interview questions adapted from the McGill Illness Narrative Interview Method, 3 100-day post-BMT patients, their primary caregivers, and 6 BMT providers recruited at the University of Kentucky Markey Cancer Center were interviewed. With interviewee consent, these meetings were also video recorded and conducted from November of 2019 through January of 2020. Once all interviews were completed, each one was coded and transcribed by a fellow research student, Anna McCowan, and I. As stated previously, there were 7 sections of interview questions. When reviewing the results, one section did not provide any significant information, so it is not included in this presentation. It is important to note that the same questions were asked to all 12 participants, but results were categorized into the number of individuals out of the 12 who had similar responses. In order to present these results, I created various radar charts, as you can see. These show the number of people who agreed with the different statements out of the 12. Some sections ended up having more significant answers than others, thus resulting in the various shapes of the radar charts. Other results and responses were recorded, but only the most notable from each section are presented. Section 1, the initial illness narrative, included questions regarding the patient's experiences after their first BMT hospitalization. The most common response was that levels of physical inactivity differ among each patient, as each body is different and each body's response can never be anticipated. It is also noted by more than half of the respondents that BMT patients were encouraged to get out of the bed, even if that did not end up happening. Section 2, explanatory models, dealt with what the interviewees felt caused the patient's physical inactivity and what could either help or hinder their improvement. Half of the respondents indicated that patients who were active tend to recover more quickly. 4 felt as if low white blood cell counts contributed to the challenge of physical activity for BMT patients. Section 3, services in response to treatment, included questions that referred to how the patient responded to provider recommendations and what other treatments they may have sought out during their time of care. The responses in this category were spread out all across the board, with 4 being the highest number of responses that were in agreement. Those 4 responses indicated that patients were usually very responsive to alternative types of therapy, such as art, music, and pet therapies. Section 4, Impact on Life, went into detail on how the inactivity caused by bone marrow transplant has affected their lives. The 2 most popular answers were feelings of isolation and depression and feeling like an emotional burden to their families. Other responses from this section included having fewer visitors and sleeping a lot more than usual. Section 5, Idea Systems and Paper Prototyping, was when we gave interviewees the chance to pretend that money was never going to be an issue and told them that if they could change anything about the care that BMT patients received, what would they do? The most common wish was that there were more physical therapy resources, such as more PT staff, and also an exercise room on the actual BMT unit. Another popular response included the wish for additional support staff, such as social work interns, motivating coaches, BMT educators, and more. Other responses included the wish for additional therapies and more of a chance to leave the actual patient room. Lastly, Section 6 detailed the preferred symptoms that patients wished to be reported. These included emotional distress, pain, fatigue, physical ability, and infectious symptoms such as fevers, chills, and sweats. After summarizing all the results, it was very evident that BMT patients do want to be active. However, physical activity is very difficult for them to achieve given the nature of the treatment side effects and the limitations caused by their care environment. Because of the BMT patients' wish to become active, it is imperative to find innovative and cost-effective ways to include exercises in their standard of care. All 12 interviews not only provided participants with the opportunity to share on their experiences with BMT transplant, it also allowed for researchers to gather information that would in turn help benefit those BMT patients. Based on the data collected, an Apple Watch app was recently developed and a pilot study has been conducted. This study can hopefully be used to develop a product that will improve physical activity and the quality of life for BMT patients. We appreciate the funding and support from the American Cancer Society Institution Review Grant and UK Markey Cancer Center. This research was supported by the shared resource facilities of the University of Kentucky Markey Cancer Center. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope that you benefit from this information, and please let me know if you have any further questions.